every morning, before the sun had fully risen. An old janitor quietly unlocked the front doors of Westbrook High School. His name was Daniel Carter. For more than 23 years, he had walked the same empty hallways, carried the same worn-out bucket, and cleaned up after thousands of students. Most of them never knew his name. To them, he was just the janitor. Teachers rushed past him. Students barely looked in his direction. Some didn't even realize he was there day after day, year after year. Daniel worked in silence, never asking for recognition, never expecting a thank you. But on one freezing Monday morning, everything changed, because within the next few hours, the man everyone ignored would make a decision that would save hundreds of lives. And by the end of that day, the entire country would know his name. Every town has someone people stop seeing, not because they disappear, but because they become part of the background. In the quiet town of Westbrook, that person was Daniel Carter. Every weekday, at exactly 5:30 in the morning, long before the first teacher arrived, Daniel unlocked the school's front doors. He switched on the lights, walked through the silent hallways, and began the same routine he had followed for more than 23 years. Empty the trash, mop the floors, clean the classrooms, check every hallway, every staircase, every exit. By the time students rushed through those doors, Daniel was already disappearing into the background once again. Thousands of students passed him every single day. Most never looked at his face. Some walked around him as if he wasn't even there. Others left garbage on the floor, knowing someone else would clean it up. Daniel never complained. He simply smiled, picked up the trash, and kept working. Because very few people knew why this job meant so much to him. 25 years earlier, Daniel Carter wasn't carrying a mop. He was carrying textbooks. At just 21 years old, he dreamed of becoming an architect. His professors believed he had a bright future. He spent countless nights drawing buildings, imagining cities that didn't exist yet. Everything was finally falling into place, until one phone call changed his life forever. His father, a construction worker, had suffered a serious accident on the job. Multiple broken bones, permanent injuries. Overnight, Daniel's family lost almost everything. Medical bills piled up. Rent became impossible to pay. Food became a luxury. His younger sister was only 12. His mother worked 2 jobs. But it still wasn't enough. Daniel had a choice: finish university or save his family. He never hesitated. The next morning, he walked into the dean's office, signed the withdrawal papers, and left the campus without looking back. A week later, he accepted the first job he could find: cleaning classrooms, washing hallways, and emptying trash cans at Westbrook High School. He promised himself it would only be temporary, a few months, maybe a year, but life had different plans. Time passed faster than Daniel ever expected. 1 year became 5. 5 became 10. And before he realized it, more than 2 decades had gone by. Students came and went, teachers retired, principals changed, but Daniel never left. Every single morning, he followed exactly the same routine. He unlocked every door, checked every fire extinguisher, tested every emergency exit, walked every hallway, climbed every staircase, and carefully inspected every corner of the building. Most people assumed he was simply doing his job. But Daniel wasn't just cleaning the school. He was studying it, every strange sound, every loose wire, every broken lock, every unusual smell. Nothing escaped his attention. "You take this job too seriously," one teacher once joked. Daniel only smiled. "Maybe," he replied, "but one day it might matter." Nobody understood what he meant. A few laughed. Others forgot the conversation before lunchtime, but Daniel never forgot, because years earlier, he had made himself one quiet promise. If danger ever came to this school, he would see it first. Monday, October 14th. It started like every other school day. Students laughed in the hallways. Teachers hurried to their classrooms. The morning bell echoed through the building. Nothing seemed unusual. At exactly 8:17 a.m., Daniel was finishing his final inspection of the east hallway. Then, he stopped. It wasn't something he saw. It was something he smelled, a faint, burning odor, so weak, most people wouldn't have noticed it. But Daniel had worked in this building for 23 years. He knew every smell, every sound, every vibration. Something was wrong. He looked toward the ceiling. Nothing. He checked the classrooms. Everything looked normal. Students were laughing. Teachers were teaching. Life continued as if nothing had happened. But Daniel couldn't ignore the feeling. Slowly, he followed the smell. Down one hallway, around the corner, past the science laboratories, until he reached a locked electrical maintenance room. He placed his hand on the metal door. It was warm, much warmer than it should have been. Then, he heard it, a sharp electrical crack, followed by another. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. He had heard that sound once before, 20 years earlier, during a factory fire, and he knew exactly what could happen next. Daniel stared at the maintenance room door. The crackling sound grew louder. Tiny sparks flashed through the ventilation grill. He didn't need to open the door. He already knew what was happening. An electrical fire, hidden inside the walls. The flames hadn't reached the hallways yet, but they would, and when they did, the entire east wing of the school would become a trap. Daniel grabbed his radio. Main office. His voice remained calm. "This is Daniel. I need the principal immediately." There was a short pause. "Daniel, can't this wait? We're in the middle of morning announcements." Daniel looked back at the door. Another loud crack echoed through the corridor. This time, a thin stream of smoke escaped through the vent. His heart began to race. "No," he answered quietly. "It can't." 30 seconds later, Principal Harris arrived, visibly annoyed. "Daniel, what is so important?" Without saying a word, Daniel pointed toward the maintenance room. Harris stepped closer. Then he smelled it. Burnt plastic, smoke. Before either of them could react, boom! A deafening explosion shook the hallway. The lights went out instantly. Ceiling tiles crashed onto the floor. Students screamed. Fire alarms exploded into life. Thick black smoke rushed through the ventilation system. Panic spread through the building in seconds. Teachers shouted for students to stay calm, but fear travels much faster than instructions. Within moments, hundreds of terrified children were running in every direction, some toward safety, others directly toward the fire. Smoke spread through the eastern hallway faster than anyone expected. Within seconds, visibility dropped to almost nothing. Students began coughing. Some froze in fear. Others pushed toward the nearest exit, unaware that the corridor ahead was already filling with toxic smoke. Daniel knew they couldn't go that way. He had walked these hallways thousands of times. He knew every classroom, every staircase, every maintenance tunnel, and every emergency exit hidden behind the old gymnasium. An exit almost nobody remembered. Daniel climbed onto a bench and shouted with everything he had. "Everyone, stop!" The hallway fell silent for just a moment. Hundreds of frightened faces turned toward him. "Don't use the main exit. Follow me." Some teachers hesitated. The evacuation plan on the wall clearly pointed in the opposite direction. One teacher stepped forward. "Daniel, that's not the official route." Daniel looked him straight in the eyes. "If we go that way, we'll walk straight into the fire." There wasn't time to argue. Another explosion echoed through the building. Ceiling lights crashed to the floor. Smoke poured into the hallway. Finally, Principal Harris made his decision. "Everyone follows Daniel." Within seconds, the entire crowd changed direction. Daniel ran to the front, not away from the danger, but toward the only exit he believed was still safe. Daniel counted the students again. Once, then twice. Something wasn't right. The fourth-grade teacher looked around in panic. Her face turned pale. "Lily?" she whispered. "Where's Lily?" A little girl, only 9 years old, had never made it outside. Moments earlier, she had asked permission to return to her classroom. Her inhaler was still inside her backpack. Nobody realized she had gone back. Until now, the principal grabbed Daniel's arm. "It's too late. The firefighters are on their way." Daniel looked toward the burning building. Thick black smoke poured from the second floor. Every instinct told him to stay outside. But another thought was louder. A frightened little girl, alone, somewhere inside. Daniel took one deep breath, removed his heavy work jacket, wrapped a wet cloth around his mouth, and without saying another word, He ran back into the school. The moment Daniel stepped back inside, the world changed. The bright morning sunlight disappeared, replaced by darkness, smoke, and the deafening sound of the fire. Every breath burned his lungs. Every second mattered. The emergency lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows across the empty hallway. Somewhere, deep inside the building, a little girl was waiting. Daniel stayed low to the ground. Years of safety training echoed in his mind. Smoke rises. Fresh air stays closer to the floor. He crawled forward, one classroom at a time. "Lily!" His voice disappeared into the smoke. No answer. He checked the first classroom. Empty. The second. Empty. The third. Nothing. Then, just as he turned the corner, he heard it. A tiny cough, barely audible, followed by a frightened voice. "Mr. Daniel?" He froze. "Lily, I'm here." "I can't see." Daniel rushed toward the sound. Through the thick smoke, he finally saw her, curled up beneath a teacher's desk, holding her backpack, terrified. Daniel tightened his grip on Lily's hand. "Stay close to me, no matter what happens. Don't let go." Lily nodded silently. They turned toward the hallway they had used just minutes earlier. But everything had changed. Flames now stretched across the corridor, blocking the only path back. The heat was unbearable. Smoke poured from the ceiling. Pieces of burning insulation drifted through the air like black snow. Daniel stopped. For the first time that morning, he didn't know which way to go. Then he remembered something. Beneath the old science wing, there was a forgotten maintenance tunnel, built decades ago. Almost nobody in the school even knew it existed. Daniel had cleaned it hundreds of times. If it was still open, it could lead them outside. Without wasting another second, he pulled a heavy storage cabinet away from the wall. Behind it, hidden under years of dust, was a small grey metal door. He forced it open. Cold air rushed out. Daniel smiled for the first time that day. "This way." The tunnel was darker than Daniel remembered. The emergency lights had failed years ago. Only his small flashlight cut through the darkness. Water dripped steadily from old pipes above them. The air was damp, but every breath still felt easier than the smoke-filled hallways above. Lily's small hand trembled in his. "Mr. Daniel," she whispered, "are we really going to make it?" Daniel looked down at her. His face was covered in soot. His eyes burned from the smoke. But he smiled. "Yes. One more minute." They continued forward. Then, the tunnel ended. A heavy steel door stood between them and the outside world. Daniel grabbed the handle. It didn't move. He pulled harder. Still nothing. Years of rust had sealed it shut. Behind them, smoke was beginning to seep into the tunnel. Time was running out. Daniel stepped back, took one deep breath, and slammed his shoulder into the door. Once. Nothing. Twice. The hinges groaned. A third time. The lock finally snapped. Bright daylight flooded into the tunnel. Fresh air rushed inside. Lily covered her eyes. Daniel guided her through the doorway. Firefighters spotted them immediately. 2 firefighters ran forward and carried Lily to safety. Daniel took one more step, then another. Before his knees finally gave way, exhausted, he collapsed onto the grass. Around him, parents cried with relief. Teachers embraced their students. Ambulance crews rushed to help. Lily looked back through the crowd. She broke free from the paramedics, ran straight to Daniel, and wrapped her arms around him. "Thank you," she whispered. Daniel smiled, closed his eyes, and for the first time that day, allowed himself to rest. The fire was finally brought under control. Investigators later confirmed that an electrical fault inside the maintenance room had started the blaze. Because the danger was discovered early, and because the evacuation changed before the smoke blocked the main corridor, every student and every member of staff survived. Daniel Carter never called himself a hero. When reporters asked why he went back inside, his answer was simple. No child should ever feel alone. A few months later, the school dedicated its newly rebuilt library in his honor. But the plaque on the wall wasn't what mattered most. Every morning, as students walked through the front doors, they no longer passed the janitor without looking. They smiled. They said, "Good morning, Mr. Carter. And for Daniel, That meant more than any medal ever could.